Hi everyone, welcome back to Cali Cat Chat. Today I thought I would talk a little bit about myself and kind of give you a little bit of insight as to who I am. It's a little bit of a gloomy day outside right now, but hopefully that doesn't bother anyone. I'll probably be pulling my hair out of my face a lot. So, like I said in the first video, I'm 30 years old. I grew up in Louisiana, just north of New Orleans. I was born and raised in the same house that I grew up in, and I lived there for the first 18 years of my life until I moved to Florida for college. Growing up was not the best childhood. My parents were verbally abusive to each other. There was never a real physical abuse that I saw, but the verbal abuse would escalate into death threats. My father would often threaten my mother with killing her. And as a young child, that really affected me. I ended up calling 911 a lot. I ended up having to be the one that would stop an argument or try to stop an argument, which when you're a child is not really effective. There was one incident where my mother tried to leave and she tried to take my sister and I, and we tried to sneak out, but before we could even leave the house, my father woke up and found us trying to leave, and they started fighting, and I called the cops. And when the cops came, despite what I or my mother had to say about the situation, because I was awake for the whole thing, they took my father's side of the story, and my dad made it out to be that my mother was not mentally capable of making her own decisions. And so the police ended up taking my mom and admitting her to a psychiatric unit for a few weeks. During that period of time, I had to become the mother to my sister. I was the older sibling. My sister has ADD. At times it can be ADHD, and she was a very hyper child, very wild. So that involved us having to get up early in the morning and go to a neighbor's house because my dad worked. And so we had to get up and go to a neighbor's house to wait until the school bus came for school. And the neighbor's children were always still asleep when we got there. And the neighbor did not like us to wake up her kids before she was ready for them to be up. So I had to try and keep my sister under control, try to keep her quiet, try to keep her calm. And I felt like if I didn't do a good job, that I would be punished for it. If not by the neighbor that was watching us, by my own father. It didn't help that when I went to middle school, which for me middle school was considered grades 4 through 6, I was severely bullied. People that had been what you would call best friends, what you can call a best friend when you're in, elementary school, K through 3rd grade. Girls that had been my best friends turned on me and decided that I was no longer suitable to be friend material. And they incessantly picked on me about the clothes that I wore, which I had no control over because at 9 years old I wasn't out, I couldn't take myself shopping. And my mom and dad weren't purchasing the up-and-coming styles for a 9-year-old. And I was picked on about my appearance. I had a really bad overbite until just a few years ago. I was called bucktooth beaver. I was called ugly. Pretty much every derogative term that could be used in the book I was called. And so for me, those 3 years, not only were they're very emotionally scarring, I feared for my own life. I had a lot of threats on my own life. People telling me that they wished I were dead, and if I didn't kill myself, they would kill me. Many people just outright telling me that they would kill me. And I had no friends at school. My neighborhood, the same kids went to my school, so I had no friends in my neighborhood. And I was fearful. I didn't like going down the street because I was afraid of seeing some of those kids. I was afraid of, getting verbally or physically attacked. And so I shut myself emotionally and physically away. I'd stay home inside a lot. Try to ride my bike in the neighborhood where I knew the kids weren't going to be at. We had some trails down at the end of my street, and I would hide out in there in the woods if I wanted to play. But when at school, I locked myself away inside and learned to become numb to what they were saying, at least to make it appear that I was numb. A lot of times I would spend recess in the library or in the counselor's office. We had many assemblies about bullying that all stemmed from me. And so I would be dealing with these issues at home. I didn't feel safe, having to raise myself at home. And I have to go to school and deal with bullies at school. So around the age of 10, I developed suicidal ideation. So severe that I tried to kill myself several times at the age of 10. None of them worked. I'm still here. But it was a big part of my life. And the emotional scarring and the emotional building blocks that occurred from that have led to a lifetime of chronic suicidal ideation and chronic self-harm, because I also turned to self-harm at that time as a way to cope. I made it out of that middle school, and I made it to a junior high where other kids filtered in. For me, junior high was 7th and 8th grade. My school district was kind of weird. So the school that I went to, though, was a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade school, but my middle school only filtered us in for 7th and 8th grade. By that point, since there was more kids and more people to focus their attention onto, my bullies kind of went away. I still had a couple that lived in my neighborhood, but by that point I kind of knew ways to get away, and I had made new friends that lived elsewhere, so I would just go to their house. So by the time I entered high school, 9th grade, I was lucky enough finally to have moved out of having to be bullied daily, and then it just came in the form of self-abuse, self-bullying. I had learned so much to hate my own self from what had happened that, even though I wasn't getting bullied at school, I was doing it to myself. It's never good enough for anything. I had a hard time with choir. I was in choir. I'd been in choir since 4th grade, and my high school music teacher didn't like me. And made it pretty much known that she didn't like me. And so I kind of took it upon myself that, hey, this is something I like to do, and rather than stop doing it, I would just self-blame myself a lot. But I didn't have the outside bullying. What I did have, though, was that around the age of 12, I met a husband and wife. I became our family friends, and there was some molestation that occurred between me and the husband, Jeff, and from the age of 12 until I went off to college, I was dealing with Jeff in my life, and the sexual attraction that he had towards me, and the at times mutual attraction I had back to him, but that I never acted on. I always felt a deep sense of guilt towards, if I did something, I would hurt his wife, and eventually he had 2 sons, I would hurt his sons. And so I always stopped myself from engaging back, but there was one night when he molested me, and it still haunts me to this day. All of that caused me to have post-traumatic stress. I deal with that. Like I said, I deal with self-harm and suicidal ideation. I have chronic depression that I go into. And occasionally I get OCD. There's a couple of OCDs that I have there. I see a therapist. I've actually been in therapy for 11 years now, but the first 10 of it was in college. I started, I had a therapist for a year and a half, and then when I transferred colleges, I would drive up and see my therapist. She's about 3 hours away, so if I was in the area, I would see her. So the next 8 years were kind of on and off seeing her. I still consider my therapist. That eventually ended a year and a half ago, and after 6 months, I finally found a therapist that I thought would mesh. I went online looking up all the therapists in my hometown, and I kept coming back to this one page, this one therapist, and something about her page, something about her picture, just something pulled me towards her. And for 6 months, I kind of put it off, kept looking, searching, called a different group, asked if they had any availability and with the therapist that I thought might work, and they told me they didn't, so I just kept ending up back at my therapist that I have now's Paige, and Julie has turned out to be a fantastic therapist, definitely a very wonderful part of my healing right now. And I thank the Lord every day that she has been put in a position to counsel me. It's not easy counseling me. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, so I do know quite a bit about what she's talking about. Right now we're doing CBT therapy, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. We're also adding in a little bit of dialectical behavioral therapy, a lot of the mindfulness that goes along with dialectical behavioral, and a lot of the coping skills, because, like I said, I go back to self-harm and suicidal ideations whenever I get stressed out or overwhelmed. And so it's a little bit about myself. I kind of want to open up with that. I don't want to hide anything on this channel. I don't want any mental health issues to go hidden. I feel like if I'm going to talk to you guys about this, then I need to at least be open about it with myself and with you guys that are watching this channel. Please feel free, if you have any questions, just write them down below in the comments down there. I'll try and answer them. I don't think this will be daily because I have 2 little ones that I have to tend to, my 2 little kids, so I try and find the time when they're occupied or napping to get these videos done. That way you don't have screaming children running around behind you in this video. Or behind me, I should say, in this video. But thank you for watching. I hope that this has been a little informative to show you that, hey, we're all going through stuff and can help each other out. Thank you.